Well, someone just phoned me up and asked me, they're an independent candidate in another state, and asked me about the media. And I thought I'd give you an overview. So this is really aimed at independent candidates and other candidates that have put their hands up over the years to represent the people, and discuss how the two-party preferred system is making that very hard for them, but basically on the front of the media themselves. And I'll start with my history because nearly 20 years ago, my wife and I ran for the Senate, and I knew nothing about politics, so I was as green as some of the candidates watching this. And in fact, my knowledge of politics was very poor, but I understood what was going wrong in the community, so I thought I had a few good ideas, and as a salesman I thought I could do something about that. So I ran for the Senate with my wife, and back then there wasn't a massive ballot paper. There was only a few candidates on there, and we did the preference deals, and the preference deals are probably the dodgiest thing you'll ever endure. Back then it wasn't so bad, and I phoned and spoke to most of the parties and talked about what I stood for, and no one really knew me. And the end result was interesting, because the end result was that Helen and I were grouped on the ballot paper. We weren't aware that we'd get a blank box above the line, which made getting people to vote for us very hard. And so we came out of the preference deals with the first preferences from nearly all of the parties. One Nation, I don't think Family First were there at the time, but One Nation's, Democrats, Labor, Liberal, etc. So we were in a very good position to have a chance at winning. And of course, the media were really excited by a couple running, and they thought that was really interesting, and they came out and did all these videos with us, and all these recorded, Channel 7, 9, the advertiser came out and did a big story about us, and about a week or so later I started inquiring as to when those articles and media articles and TV articles would go to air, and I was told that I was black banned by a young lady in the media, and I said, what does that mean? They said, well, you've got a half a chance of being elected, and we can't have uncontrolled people getting into politics. So that was the beginning of me understanding how this works. So since then, as many people know, I've run quite a few times over the years. A couple of times I've tried to win. Other times I put my name on the ballot paper because there's been a pertinent issue that was important to myself or my wife, and we thought that by being a candidate would make that give us a voice to try and bring change and lobby for those sorts of reforms. And interestingly, since then, it's become much worse. And I just want you poor young guys to have some idea. Basically, if you're running in the Senate, you do not exist in terms of the media. And so you will not get any media whatsoever in your mainstream papers, the Murdoch press, particularly in Adelaide. And so you were left really with talkback radio, and occasionally, if you're very lucky, you might get some media in the local papers. The only papers that would generally cover people like us, independents or minor parties, would be independently owned country papers. So if you're in one of those regions, you may have a slight chance. I've got to the stage now where I'm fairly well known on social media, so the media won't touch me at all. I ran about 5 or 6 years ago for a by-election for the seat of Ramsay, and the media will go to such a degree to make sure you don't know who I am that they ran the campaign. I was running close odds with the Labor Party in their safest seat. The Liberal Party had pulled out, didn't think they could win it, and the media were doing stories about that electorate and not mentioning who the candidates were, only mentioning the Labor candidate. In other words, they weren't even willing to mention my name as being the front runner or even being a candidate. And the same applies at this federal election. If you go and pick up last Sunday Mail's paper, there'll be a lift out there, and it describes each electorate, and it tells you the Labor candidate, the Liberal candidate, and the Nick Xenophon candidate. There's no mention of any other candidates. The local paper's the same at the moment. They're not doing any stories about the minor players whatsoever. So, you know, the media themselves, or the hierarchy, I would say, have a lot of control over it. And you've got to look at Murdoch. I mean, $883 million a year in tax breaks. any independent candidate or any minor party is going to start asking why he's getting that money off. So he's not going to want people like us in there questioning why he can get away with $1 billion out of this country, or $4.5 billion in the last few years, without paying tax on it. But it's not just the media, it's the polls. If a poll's conducted in an area, or you see a poll online, or someone phones you with a poll, they'll ask you who you're going to vote for, and they'll offer you the choice of Labor, Liberal or the Greens. They will never say, would you vote independent, and they won't allow that as an answer. It goes past there. If you go online to the ABC right now, they have a vote compass. If you go to that vote compass and fill it in, during the questions you fill in, there are sections that say, would you vote independent, have you voted independent, how will you vote? But regardless of how you fill that vote compass in on ABC, it'll come up with an option of Labor, Liberal and Greens, and generally place you next to Labor and Liberal. Go and try it. It takes just a few moments. 5AA radio. People that know me, I was on 5AA for a very long period of time. Between elections, I was in the studio on a regular basis, and I talk about a lot of things that I do, from animal welfare to looking after farmers to running my farmers markets. Only 3 years ago, I got a call from 5AA, the presenters that were friends of mine, and said that you'd now been banned from the station. I can't ring in. If you ring in over the next few days, they'll be calling out, asking you who you're going to vote for. If you ring in and mention my name, they will cut you off and black ban you from that radio station. So we have a political system that's two-party preferred, that the Electoral Act and electoral laws are written by the two parties to make sure they stay in power. But we also have a media that backs that 100%. And the intention is solely to make sure you vote to certain people, so that, because the media know they can control those certain people, and those certain people owe the media favours in return. In Murdoch's case, $883 million reasons to make sure that someone like me doesn't get in. So the media are not there to help you. They're not a public service provider. They're in individual businesses. They can write what the hell they like. They have a very good legal team. So if you see media about a candidate that's a minor player or an independent and it's bagging them, that actually means that that candidate's doing well in that area. I've copped that twice so far this year. Normally I get the silence. Same thing happened with Pauline. They're Pauline Hanson, they're very reluctant to bag someone out in the media because that can sometimes get them support. So it's usually a desperate measure. So if you see a small minor candidate somewhere in your electorate getting bad media, that'll be an absolute go-ahead to say that that person's got support and you should be supporting them, is my opinion. They use names for us as well. I'm a serial candidate because I run more than once. Anything they can do to undermine a minor player is an important part of the control of the media in Australia. And that control goes way past just elections. So you're never going to see the real truth. So you need to get on the social networks, you need to go to independent media sources and start reading up about what's really going on in the world and make decisions yourself. You'll also find the same will occur with backroom deals. So you'll see how to vote cards when you arrive at the polling booth this weekend, and they will also try and push you a certain way. What you need to do is look away from all of that and make some harsh decisions yourself and vote with the heart. And please, please, for the sake of all these poor little independents, because we pay for our own marketing, we pay for our own signs. In fact, if an independent goes and puts up 500 how to vote posters, vote one posters, they'll go missing very quickly, and we've lost hundreds. I've lost hundreds already, and because I've been in the game a long time, I had more to put up, so I keep replacing them. But this is the system is against us, and the person that pushes the agenda the most is the media, and Murdoch in particular. He's a big Labor boy in South Australia, so that's what's going to happen to you if you're a minor player. It's very, very hard, and it's past time that some of us smaller guys all got together and ran campaigns working with each other, which is why they changed the Senate voting rules. We've been doing that. We've been getting some independent voices into the Senate. They don't like it. They want rid of us. They've changed the rules. They've called an election at a different time earlier, and the sole intention is to get rid of us. The fact that they want rid of us is not because we'll create chaos. It's because we'll start holding people to account. So think carefully how you vote, but do not let the media choose for you. Thank you.